I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along today. Today is Monday, March 13th, 2023. I've had a great weekend, I tell you, great because on Friday, Bobby and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. So I'm still on cloud nine, celebrating that I've been so lucky that I haven't been fired yet. And yeah, Lord willing, and the creek doesn't rise, I'll get 51 and 52 and 53. Again, kudos to myself for hanging in, but gratitude for my wife, or to my wife, for putting up with me. And I say making me the complete human being that I'm striving to be moment by moment. So to the rest of you guys who've got 50 years or looking at 50, I'm here to testify it's doable and it's wonderful, and go for it. So thank you, Bobby Ford McFarlane, for being in my life and letting me be in yours as well. Well, we've got a great program today. And before I start, I'll just mention I've got some great friends of mine, all associated with the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center in North Minneapolis. It's a legacy institution, and the people I'm talking to today can speak to the legacy, the power of community. You're going to hear from Thomas Powell, who runs youth programs, and you hear from former school board member Kimberly Caprini, who's a leader at Phyllis Wheatley, and you hear from one of the support organizations, Comcast, cable TV, and they help underwrite many of the projects at Phyllis Wheatley. And by the way, my friend Stacy Nelson Kumar is a person that our company, Insight News McFarlane Media, has had an expansive and productive business relationship. So I thank them for being advertisers and supporters of this program, The Conversation with Al McFarlane, and our newspaper, and our work with other ethnic media through the Minnesota Multicultural Media Consortium. Well, let me begin, as I often do, with hot topics. And, you may be thinking, I would say hot topics, the Oscars, but no. The hot topic for me today is the topic of the bank failure of Silicon Valley Bank. Big news, important news. And, briefly, the issue was that the good news is that the government has moved to protect the investors, the depositors. And I'm going to start talking about that and share another piece as well. So the item I'm looking at right now is a piece that comes out of NBC News. And the headline is that Silicon Valley Bank collapse. It gives updates on the collapse and says that Biden, has addressed the bank's failure. What are the key points here? Well, number one, President Biden has said this morning that the banking system is safe, that no taxpayer dollars would be used to cover losses. Also, he said, or the report, latest news is that the government, the U.S., has moved to protect all deposits at Silicon Valley Bank in a bid to stem a wider fallout. And the question on everybody's mind is whether this bank, this high-tech bank in Silicon Valley, is getting a government bailout. And the answer to that is it's not in the 2008 bailout sense, but yes, others are saying this is a bailout. Well, an article by Amanda Turkle talks about how Democrats actually helped Trump deregulate banks, which is kind of where we are right now. And Amanda, I'll just read a couple of paragraphs, says that in the wake of two bank collapses in the past week, a 2018 law rolling back Dodd-Frank banking regulations has come under scrutiny. Then President Donald Trump signed the bill into law, but he had the support of 17 Democrats in the Senate. Some conservative Democrats who were up for re-election went around Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, then the ranking member on the banking committee, to work with Republicans on the deal. That bill triggered an acrimonious split in the Democratic Party, with Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts publicly calling out her colleagues who helped roll back the rules on the biggest banks. She didn't need to create all these enemies to reinforce her brand as a warrior against Wall Street, one Senate Democratic aide said at the time. But Warren seems to be feeling vindicated now, and she wrote in the New York Times op-ed today, open quote, "These bank failures were entirely avoidable if Congress and the Fed had done their jobs and kept strong banking regulations in place since 2018. Well, the other piece I'll say about that is another story that talks about, depositors are going to be protected. This is an update that comes from, where's the source of this article? Also from NBC News. The authors of the article are Brian Chung and Rob Weil. And the headline says that the U.S. moves to protect all deposits at Silicon Valley Bank in a bid to stem wider fallout. And really, that's the issue. The big fear here is that a run on the Silicon Valley Bank that happened already, and the bank was not able to handle all of the requests of customers for their money. And over the weekend, the thought was that people could get their money that was covered by FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. But remember this, FDIC covers deposits up to $250,000. Well, Silicon Valley Bank, being in the tech industry and being where it is really a private bank, this is my words, for the high-tech high rollers. Big money, and $250,000 of protection meant that a lot of people were going to lose a lot of money. And what happened as well, a second bank also was telling people today that they are in the same situation. Well, so in that, this article says that federal regulators stepped in Sunday to back all of the Silicon Valley Bank deposits, and that resolved this uncertainty surrounding what is going to be the second largest bank failure in U.S. history. And that happens hours before the global stock market trading resumed today. So the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation announced that the government would back Silicon Valley Bank deposits beyond the federally insured ceiling of $250,000. The decision addressed concerns around the fate of uninsured funds held at the Santa Clara, California-based bank, the country's 16th largest, which had $209 billion in assets and more than $175 billion in deposits. Well, that's big news. And so what I kind of heard over the weekend was the question of contagion, that what typically happens is if a panic starts, the people who have deposits in other banks start looking at the safety of their money, and they rush to pull their money out. And that can precipitate a massive system-wide bank failure. That's what I think our government is trying to avoid. They want to assure depositors, investors, that their funds are safe where they are, and that there's no chance that they'll be stiffed, as it were, that they can continue banking and doing good business. Well, let's watch that. I don't know what this means for ordinary people, for the little people, but I think we all have to pay attention and try to come up with a sense of how this trickles down to our financial reality, because it'll hit us somewhere sooner or later. Well, today's program, I mentioned, is one that focuses on Phyllis Wheatley Community Center. Phyllis Wheatley Community Center is I think maybe a 80-year-old organization. I'll get the right number. I can't remember exactly, but I know it's been around maybe even more than 80 years. It's a settlement house, a legacy institution in North Minneapolis, a place where, for example, people like Marian Anderson and maybe Duke Ellington, Black entertainers, orators, politicians, back in the days of legal discrimination when Blacks could not enjoy hotels downtown, they stayed at Phyllis Wheatley House. The Phyllis Wheatley House is a settlement house, part of a settlement house movement that created and supported community health, community education, community well-being, and a sense of belonging for the Black community in North Minneapolis. Well, Kimberly Caprini is here to talk about the Phyllis Wheatley story and talk about some exciting things happening this week and beyond. And she'll be joined by a couple of team members. One of them I mentioned earlier is Brother Thomas Powell, who's one of the managers at Phyllis Wheatley, and will be joined by Stacy Nelson Kumar, who works for the Comcast organization, an organization that supports Phyllis Wheatley and many organizations like that in Twin Cities. That's her portfolio, is community engagement. Well, first of all, Kimberly grew up in North Minneapolis, and she's has experience in community engagement and leadership. She's passionate about serving others to support their needs in education and building strong, close community relationships and partnerships with organizations that serve our city. She served served one term as a Minneapolis School Board Director. She's was a member of the Youth Coordinating Board and City Planning Commission, and she's currently a member of the City of Minneapolis Capital Long Range Improvement Committee. Kimberly, welcome to the conversation. Good to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and thank you, Al. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this time with you. First, I want to say happy anniversary to you and your lovely wife.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, you're right. Phyllis Wheatley has been around for a very long time. We will actually be celebrating our 100th anniversary November 2024. But just to give you some information about Phyllis Wheatley, Phyllis Wheatley has served Minneapolis, as I said, since 1924 with comprehensive quality programmings in lifelong learning, child development, and also family support services. PWCC was actually the first agency in the Twin Cities, as you mentioned, committed to meeting human services needs of the growing African-American community. For many Blacks, Phyllis Wheatley was a safe place during a racially segregated city. And when you mentioned about, Duke Ellington and some of the other big name stars that would stay here at the Settlement House, actually the Minnesota Gophers, the athletes at the Minnesota Gophers, they actually stayed here at the Settlement House as well because they weren't allowed to stay on campus. So today, Phyllis Wheatley's programs, we really strive to meet the needs of children, the youth in the community, families, and of course our elders in the community. We accomplish this by safeguarding equity and equality in our programming and services that we offer, that we provide. And as I said, some of those things are child development, family engagement, health, vaccine services, skilled technology, workforce development, and also wealth accumulation strategies. Our mission has always been to create a pathway for individuals to discover their strengths and take control of their futures. The programs, just to give you a little synopsis of a few of them, Mary T. Welcome is our child development center, serving newborn to pre-K children. We have our HOPE programs, that stands for Help Our People Evolve, a women's domestic violence recovery and anger management program that to give women the tools that they need to support them when they're not regulated and need to make different choices before something violent occurs. We also provide services for men in our men's anger management program, which is one of our longest standing crisis intervention programs that is a referral basis. And then, of course, our youth trauma intervention, which I'll leave that alone and let Thomas speak to that because he is the facilitator for that program. But one of my favorite, I love all of our programs, but one of my favorites is the Quality Parent Academy program. And we basically provide reunification services and parental education services for families that are involved in the foster care system. And that one runs on a referral basis. We just recently initiated a self-referral Quality Parent Academy initiative. So anyone who's interested in, coming to Phyllis Wheatley and learning from our curriculum, it's not necessarily teaching parents how to parent. It's more about giving parents an opportunity to share their experiences with one another and find support systems to be able to talk about the different issues that you may have in your family, and just and offer support to one another. What I do at Phyllis Wheatley is basically provide wraparound services for all of these programs. And I do that through focusing on enrichment activities, equity health services, community, and my favorite, public events, and also food security programs. I just learned about a new initiative that Phyllis Wheatley will be starting up, the Women's Wealth Building Initiative. And that's basically strategies that will focus on Black women, single heads of households, as they struggle to provide financial supports for their children. So that initiative should be starting up sometime in May and will basically be serving Black, Indigenous, people of color, as I said, single head of household women between the ages of 24 to 45. And we're looking again for those classes, to start sometime in April. I did put the link for the Women's Wealth Building Initiative in the chat. And I can also share that online on this thread when the show is over. But yeah, if you have any questions about, the work that I do in terms of the kinds of resources that I offer our participants in our classes or the folks just in community, I'm ready and willing.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that you'll be putting information in the thread. I usually start the program by inviting people to support this program, and I didn't do it. And I'll do that now. I want to tell you, if you're listening or watching on any of the several platforms, we are streaming on 2 YouTube channels, one for the Black Press of America, NNPA. It's called Black Press USA on YouTube. And we're streaming on the Inside News channel on YouTube as well. We're also live at Facebook for NNPA, at Facebook for Inside News. We're live to Twitter and live to LinkedIn. And so if you're on any of those platforms, I'm going to ask you to do a favor, and that is to go over to the YouTube Insight News channel and subscribe. We want to build our subscriber base at the YouTube channel. We've got around 300 or so. Presently, we want to build that to 1,000 as soon as possible. And you taking a minute to go to YouTube Inside News and subscribing puts us in that direction in a very handy fashion. And also tell all your friends to join us, to be part of this community conversation. We always promise what I call robust conversations, engaging conversations. We enjoy the work, and we most of all enjoy being with you, with each other, discussing what we are committed to being the co-creators of, and that is a future in which we win. Well, let me continue and bring in Brother Thomas Powell. And Brother Powell, you might want to go deep on the particular initiative that you are leading at Phyllis Wheatley. And so first of all, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Al, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I want to say a word about Kimberly is a wealth of resource at Phyllis Wheatley. She knows just about everything going on in the community. So I want to also encourage those who have questions to contact Kimberly. Now, I want to talk a little bit real quick about the Hope for Youth program, which is a program that I coordinate. Hope for Youth, as Kimberly indicated, is helping our people involved. These are restorative programs. We have one for youth between the ages of 11 and 17. And then we have a group for men and a group for women. Actually, we have, I don't know the exact number, but at least 4 groups for men around domestic violence and domestic abuse. We also have groups for women. We have 2 groups for women, and they're quite effective and attended quite well. I would say that between all of the facilitators of these HOPE programs, you have about close to 90 years of experience in this business. I started out with African American Family Services, and many of my peers have worked at other agencies in their particular fields. So I think Phyllis Wheatley has kind of a hands up on this business of restoring people. Hope for Youth is a partnership with Hennepin County Juvenile Division. The program was designed to intervene when there's been a male youth who has committed an act of domestic violence. Typically, it's against a family member, but not always. The program is designed to teach conflict resolution skills and also to break the cycle of violence. However, in the course of that, we're dealing with youth. So it's trauma-informed therapy. But also, we want to know why our kids keep falling in the water. We have a program to maybe address that issue and maybe bring something to bear on it. I recently read an article that says that a positive outlook on the future for our teens might keep them from violence, being a victim or a perpetrator. We teach life skills also in the youth group. So many of these young men have not been exposed to simple skills in life. So we want to introduce them to everything that they're going to encounter as they grow. Again, this is a partnership with Hennepin County, so a lot of our referrals come from Hennepin County. But we do have walk-ins. As a matter of fact, I have a young man who walked in whose parent wanted him to be in this group. That parent literally begged for her child's life. She felt like her child was in danger out here in the community in these days and wanted him to be involved in something positive. So again, Phyllis Wheatley, Hope for Youth, is a positive effort to help our youth through these troubling times. And I don't have to tell you what they are. We all know. Again, Al, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about Hope for Youth. Again, all of the programs make a significant dent in the violence that's taking place in our community. And that's what we're most concerned about. We want to reduce, if not eliminate, the violence in our communities so that our young people have a chance to thrive.
Great conversation, great background. Thank you so much, Brother Thomas Powell. Now, let me bring in my friend from Comcast, Stacy Nelson Kumar. Stacy, how you doing? Having a brain freeze here. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you as well. I'm doing great. And I want to also share my congratulations to you and Bobby. So thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much. Well, let me tell people, first of all, that you and I go back a long way. Comcast and Inside News, McFarlane Media go back a long way. You guys are premier level advertisers in our newspaper, and you've been sponsors of this program, The Conversation with Al McFarlane. So we thank you for your support and for the opportunity to tell the Comcast story. And we've done that fairly consistently, particularly talking about the Internet Essentials program. It's one, and also talking about the initiatives you've had to support businesses in Black and Brown communities. That what we did is try to make sure that as often as we can, we bring in owners of those businesses that got $10,000 grants from Comcast, and some actually also got technical services and web support and management support. So kudos for you. I think your investment over the past couple of years has been about $1 million a year in the Twin Cities market. And that's part of a larger national effort to pump money into supporting entrepreneurship in the Black community. So thank you for all of that.
Absolutely.
So I'll say that I'll take some responsibility here because I think I introduced you to my friends over at Phyllis Wheatley. and I'm so happy that introduction has led to a cooperative and supportive relationship. To talk about that, how do you work with organizations like Phyllis Wheatley and to deliver, help them deliver their service vision to the community?
Yes, thanks, Al. And you're right. You were the first to introduce us to Suzanne Burks when she joined the organization several years ago. I think our partnership goes back about 4 years in a more concerted way. And I think that Phyllis Wheatley Community Center is actually one great example of a premier partnership that we have. And it truly is a partnership. So when we look at the ways that we are involved in the community, the first priority really is around digital inclusion, digital equity, making sure, given that we're a technology company, that we're able to help organizations serve their clients with access to the internet, with equipment to use the internet, with training to be able to leverage what's available on the internet. So we definitely have a technological focus. But it goes beyond that. And you're right, with Phyllis Wheatley's programs, they serve so many needs. And so I'm proud to say we've supported them in a number of different ways over the past several years. One of the things we were excited about was that they were one of our first lift zone locations where we were able to help wire up their facilities so that students, primarily at the beginning of the pandemic, would have a place to come on site and access resources. I think that has expanded in some really exciting ways to continue to provide programming as we've been in and out of some of the distance learning needs. And so there are a lot of ways that the technical support that we've been able to give, or the grant support for their technology programs, has really influenced the ability for the programs to grow. I know Kimberly mentioned a favorite program, and I'll just say one of my favorite programs, although I love them all as well, is the Digital TechWorks Academy. And I feel like that's been a place where we've partnered the most because it is such a good alignment for our focus areas, but it also is a place where we see the opportunity for hope to be shared, where youth can learn about different technologies and careers in technology, different ways to utilize different programming opportunities, how to code. There's just a lot of opportunity that's provided within that TechWorks Academy. And one of the other ways, I'd say that we work with our partners is really looking at how we can have a comprehensive partnership. It's not just about making grants. It's not just about helping provide computers or doing a lift zone. Although we do all of those things, it's also about where else can we bring our skills and our resources to help. And so one of the things we're going to be doing this week, in fact, on Wednesday, is hosting a career exploration day for some of the participants in the Phyllis Wheatley programs. They'll come and learn from my colleagues at Comcast about what it's like to work at Comcast, what career opportunities there might be, and also then to do some hands-on opportunities to see what it's like to be in various different parts of our business. So we're excited to be able to host participants to that program on Wednesday. There is more information available on the Phyllis Wheatley website, and the registration is still open, as I understand it. So please, if you're interested, willing to spend some time with us on Wednesday from 10 to 2, would love to have you there and be part of the career exploration event.
So what kinds of jobs can people learn about if they show up on Wednesday?
Well, what's exciting, I think what happens is a lot of time people think of Comcast as just in terms of cable installation. And so what we're going to be sharing on Wednesday is that there's a lot more. I mean, for me, for example, I work in our community affairs. I'm on our external affairs team. And so there are a lot of different ways to work within companies. So on Wednesday in particular, we're going to be having an overview of some of our technical operations positions. We have sales positions within our retail locations. We have sales positions within our Comcast business team. So those are the two primary areas, sales and technical operations. But our career panel will share several other of the functional areas within Comcast that people might be interested in, and positions are open for those different functional areas at different times.
Let me just take an aside here, Stacy. I've visited your headquarters over in St. Paul on the river quite a few times. We've done actually versions of this program live from your facility, at least on a couple of occasions, I think.
That's right.
Great shows. And each time I come there, I get a tour. And what I'm impressed with straight up is the number of Black people and brown people I see working in your facility. There's nothing more inspiring, nothing more encouraging, nothing more affirming than the evidence of men and women doing all kinds of jobs inside the organization. That's the proof of the pudding. That's the demonstration. So kudos to you. And I say that just so that listeners and viewers get a sense that this is real. The opportunity is real. The needs that the company is trying to hire for, those needs are real. And the company is saying it recognizes that our communities, our people can bring great value to the mission of the company, to its success, and the door is open. So kudos to you. And I take every chance I get to praise the company, not only for the company, but also to challenge other companies to do the same, because what you are doing is what ought to be being done across the board all the time, everywhere. Sadly, it's not. But again, thank you all for being a leader in this arena. And so, Kimberly, jump in here.
I wanted to mention about our COVID clinics. I briefly touched base on the vaccine services that Phyllis Wheatley provides. We have testing Mondays from 2 to 5, and then again on Tuesday through Thursday from 3 to 7 p.m. We also do we also do vaccinations the first and third Saturday of every month from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I wanted to make sure that I get that in, and it's exciting to have people coming in and getting their tests taken, and being able to actually provide them with any resources that they need when they come in. That's something that I also offer here at Phyllis Wheatley. If there's utility support, or if they need support in finding housing, I've actually gone so far as to go on Craigslist looking for apartments for some of our participants in our programs, instead of just giving them a list of organizations to reach out to. And I've been pretty successful with that. I have found a couple of people apartments through Craigslist, and even outside of Minneapolis. So just a few little services that I offer at Phyllis Wheatley.
Let me do this. I want to come back to keep the focus in part on what Stacy's doing in the event coming up Wednesday, but talk broadly about the importance of engagement that Comcast brings to Phyllis Wheatley. And Kimberly, as a former elected and public servant, the importance of connectivity. And so from your point of view, what does it mean for our community? And you heard me say that I willingly speak about this because my intent not only is to testify about Comcast's presence and work, but to do it in a way that encourages, even if it means shames, other companies into doing the right thing. So from the point of view as a person involved in civic and public life, And as a leader at Phyllis Wheatley, how important is it that we have companies show up and invest and support the work that we do that's critical? What do you think, Kimberly?
Well, it's absolutely important. I mean, I think that, well, I believe that the pandemic showed us that this kind of work was necessary. The disparities just floated to the top, that, we have always been saying, there's a digital divide. There is a lack of people of color in positions in technology. The disconnect between education and technology classes. Sure, we have robotics and those kinds of things, but when it comes to computer science and all of that, there's a definite need. And I believe the pandemic has actually given us the foresight to understand that these kinds of partnerships with a company like Comcast are incredibly important. We have our esports that's housed out of Phyllis Wheatley. It's a North High School team, but we house it out of our facility. And without the partnership with Comcast, that may not be something that we could actually be able to do. There's Man Code, and then Girls Who Code, all of these opportunities and experiences that a lot of our youth, specifically the area that I'm most concerned about. I'm concerned about all ages, but the middle school age kids is where we really, really lose a lot of opportunities for kids to grab a hold of something that they may not have had access to. And so having Comcast as a partner is incredibly important. There are children that come here, like I said, to participate in some of these sports and also use our internet, right? Because they don't have internet at home. And then, of course, Comcast does have opportunities for folks to pay less for their internet services at their house. But I do believe that, because of the pandemic, as I said, a lot of the disparities rose to the top, and Comcast was one of those companies that was leading in ensuring that those connections were being made in schools and in communities. And I really appreciate that. So my hope is that tomorrow's event is
Wednesday's event.
Wednesday's event is very successful. And my hope is that they can actually do some of this kind of exploration day, and maybe perhaps they do at the middle schools and at high schools. I think that would be fantastic to catch them early.
Stacey,
Agreed. Yeah, I was just going to share. Yeah, I think that this is a model. And so I think that's one of the things we appreciate so much about our partnership with Phyllis Wheatley is that we're able to be creative together. We're able to innovate together. And so the event on Wednesday is the first time we're doing it with Phyllis Wheatley, but it can sure be a model for other age groups and even other community organizations that might be interested in something similar. One thing I want to emphasize, and Al, I really appreciate your recognition of our efforts. There's always more to be done, but I am very proud of the work that we have done in the Twin Cities community since I've been at Comcast, which is 6 years now, and just the way that we're able to form very genuine and authentic relationships with our partners. And that's what we have at Phyllis Wheatley. And so I think it really is, as I mentioned, they're a premier partner, but it's because of that. And then we're able to really partner and talk about what do we each need, what do we each bring to the table, and be able to then, bring it to fruition, create it. And that's kind of how Wednesday's event came together. It was just exposing participants to career opportunities, job opportunities, benefits of working at a company like Comcast. So, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Internet Essentials, because that is our program. And so that is one of the other ways that we've really partnered with Phyllis Wheatley, is making sure that Internet Essentials information is available to anyone, walking through the door. And then more recently with the Affordable Connectivity Program, which started about 15 months ago. It's a federal program that provides a $30 credit for internet service. And so just making sure there's awareness. And Phyllis Wheatley, the team at Phyllis Wheatley has been super helpful at spreading the word, making sure people understand that these resources are available. The Internet Essentials service is provided for $10 a month, but with the Affordable Connectivity Program, it can be free. And so just making sure people understand the ways that they can receive those benefits, and then we can help make sure that everyone is connected.
Brother Thomas, I wanted to tell you that I so appreciated your opening statement about hope, about what role hope plays in the lives of children, that if there is hope, if there's a sense of a future, it lessens the potential for the young person to be either perpetrator or victim of violence, domestic violence in particular. And I wanted to have you take some time to go into that, what your experience has been, not only at Phyllis Wheatley, but as you said, with other organizations, and how critically important it is that we have conversations about it in our community. And I'll have you tie in the importance of having friends, supporters that enable the organization to deliver on the promise of hope to our children and to our families. What do you think, Thomas Powell?
Well, I think your topic is extremely important. And I want to speak to this idea of hope. I mean, without hope, we're doomed. And I think that's what I try to stress to the young people, to look to the future with hope. Because that's where the salvation is going to come. And that's how we're going to move out of this temporary position we're in with all the violence that's going on in our communities with young people. They have to see a future. They have to see something at the end of that. And quite frankly, most of them don't look very far into the future. They're looking most immediately into what can I get right now. Hope gives them promise for the future. And once you teach and introduce young people to the fact that they can have a future, they go for it. Now I want to say a word about Comcast, because I had no idea that Comcast was doing this kind of work in the community. And I just want to applaud you. It feels really good to know that these organizations are supporting us. Al, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. There was a recreation center in Baltimore, Northwest Baltimore, called Tawanda. And that's where we all went. Everybody went. And it's a social gathering. It's the place where we got all our information. It's where we met our friends. It's where we recreated. And many of us went on to be athletes. But Phyllis Wheatley kind of reminds me of it. That place where everybody comes to, and they look for things that we might not have, but we're willing to try to provide them. So I think the biggest piece, a surprise to me, was the program that they have at Phyllis Wheatley with these young people that come. And I love these chairs that they sit in and just involve themselves. And it's just great to have some place to come to. I mean, think about it. If they had nowhere to come to, what would we be facing right now? So I'm thankful for people like you, Al, and Stacy, and Kimberly, and all the people who come together to try to make this thing work. And I think it can. That's where the hope is, in the fact that it is possible. And thank you, Al, again.
Well, I often ask my guests, Thomas and Kimberly, to tell their personal stories, because I'm interested in what motivated you to become the Thomas Powell that you are today. So let me take a minute and ask you to, this is obviously unscripted, so that's the beauty of it. We're just friends talking, right?
Yes.
And having a conversation, and it's real. And so talk about, Thomas Powell, where you came from. Whose shoulders do you stand on, and what brings you and your passion to this work?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start because I don't want to forget this gentleman whose shoulders I stand on. His name was Jim Bransford. And James Bransford was a very close friend and mentor and supporter. I came from a city running from the violence that was going on in the city. When I was 19 years old, I was convicted of a crime I did not commit. I got 20 years for it. and I went in to the penitentiary, well, the prison at that time, and I exited with a degree and a scholarship to law school, University of Baltimore. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to help people like myself. And I kind of gave up on that a little bit, but I took a job with the state of Maryland as a AFDC worker, which goes way back in welfare. And then I came to Minnesota because I'd heard there was a better opportunity to live here. And I've been here since 1981. So that tells you a lot about Minnesota.
Then you'd be one of the famous sons of Bransford.
Yes.
There's a group
absolutely.
of young men in particular who are all sort of touched by the leadership, the passion, the compassion, the love of Jim Bransford, who was simply a marvelous human being and leader.
Absolutely. And, you know, the vestiges, I mean, it's people like that who leave their legacy, as you will, Al. But, you know, it's something that we can have hope, you know, because you left us with that. And in the same with Jim. I've worked a lot of places out. IPCA with Peter Bell. I don't know how far back people go with Peter Bell. And then Council on Crime and Justice, the Legal Rights Center. I've worked at the Hennepin County Public Defender's Office. Hennepin County Medical Center as a hospital violence responder. And now with Phyllis Wheatley, which is a great organization. And I think it has great leadership. And I'm looking forward to things going on there. It's one of the places where I can do the work that needs to be done now. I've met some great, wonderful people along the way, and I continue to, obviously.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about my journey.
Thank you for sharing. It's a wonderful story. Kimberly, same thing for you. What kind of guides your passion? Whose shoulders do you stand on?
I guess I would have to say I stand on the shoulders of every Black and brown body that has ever felt like they couldn't be more than what they thought they could possibly be when they were little. I grew up undiagnosed with dyslexia, struggled in school. I changed who I was in order to assimilate, and having to get through the day was like the survival of the fittest in some of the schools that I attended. You know, being one of maybe a handful of Black kids in a high school is very difficult and challenging. And I just knew that by the time I got to an age where I would finally get married or decide to have children, I wanted to do that at a time that I knew I had figured out who I am personally and had been working on my own authentic self. Because I never wanted to raise children in the eyes that I was looking through. I wanted to ensure that they were able to really cultivate their own authenticity, and I've accomplished that. So that's what that's who I believe the shoulders I'm standing on, are the shoulders of those that never had an opportunity to really find their authentic self. And when we talk about hope, what comes to my mind is when you don't see what you can be or become, you don't have an opportunity to really evolve. And our programs here at Phyllis Wheatley offer those opportunities, those tools. And one of the things that I really love about the programs that we offer is we have a facilitator here who runs the women's program, and she really accommodates the women to talk with one another, and they discuss their issues. It's not just showing up and saying, this is how things have to work. This is the curriculum, read it and do it, sign it. This is a conversation, a rich conversation about ways to manage anger, ways to calm yourself down and talk about the things that do trigger you. And I just feel really hopeful about this work and excited about the fact that the community is submerging themselves within it. And now that we have an opportunity to do self-referrals with some of our programs, it lights me up when people call and ask for help, because it's okay to ask for help.
That's right.
You know, I asked for help myself before I met my husband, and I was able to get the supports that I needed to really truly become who I always was, but was too afraid to show.
Sure.
Very
Stacey,
good.
same question for you. Whose shoulders do you stand on?
Ah.
And how does this conversation appear to you? And I'm speaking in that when I raised the questions I raised with Thomas and Kimberly, there's a shorthand we have between us that we both know we're speaking out of, right? I don't know if you and I have the same shorthand. I think we do, but I'm raising the question because it's worth raising. And so I'll ask you, whose shoulders do you stand on, and how does this conversation feel to you? What do you think about it? And I'm glad you're here, number one.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that. And I have the benefit of having a few minutes to think, because I knew you'd be coming to me at some point. So in terms of whose shoulders, I would have to say my parents. I grew up in a really small town in Idaho. And so I have a path that led me to the Twin Cities over the last 40 years. But I was always encouraged, had a very loving support system, had a lot of extended family around me, and was really encouraged to be a critical thinker and to look around and see what was happening around me. And so I think as I was in high school and college, I had the idealism of, I want to make the world a better place. And so what does that mean for me? I think part of that's what I do today because I love it so much. But I did get a degree in social work, thinking I wanted to be directly involved in youth, and so there's all the paths can come together sometimes. So in terms of the area, the age that I was most interested in being a part of and helping to support. So but I quickly realized that oftentimes what organizations serving youth and serving anyone in community need is resources, is money. The expertise is already there in the community. It's not that I needed to get a degree to come in and talk about, like you just said, Kimberly, to tell people how it should be or how I think it should look. It's really about supporting the work that's already happening because the expertise is there. So this conversation, I wish everybody could have a conversation like that. That's how this sits with me, honestly. And I don't think that we all get to have that and understand different stories and different perspectives and understanding that we all are wanting so many of the same things, but we all come from different experiences. And so understanding how we can build each other up, all of us, and support each other in accomplishing that. And then again, I think the theme of the conversation today is in terms of hope. Like, right, there is hope. There is a future that's better, and it's for all of us to be a part of in making it. But I really believe, and I appreciate the question, Al, that having these kinds of authentic conversations is where it has to start. So we understand each other and can know how best to support each other.
I want to make sure before we close that we have you invite people to Wednesday's program again so that we don't forget to keep that invitation live. I want to say that as we were talking, I remembered that two things that I'm proud of. One is that my daughter was a product of the preschool program at Phyllis Wheatley. So like I said, I've got personal relationships and engagement, and so that's kind of where my children started off, was at Phyllis Wheatley at the daycare program there. And then the second thing I remember is that Kimberly and Thomas, if you go back through the archives, you'll find the anniversary book for the 75th anniversary. Well, that was produced by yours truly. I organized it and printed it and made it available for the 75th anniversary banquet. And so it's exciting that now you're looking at celebrating 100 years. I think you're at 99 years right now, but momentarily 100 years. And I think that's really, really cool. And what it says is that there is this continuity in our community, that we connect and then we connect and then we connect and then we connect. And we have all these ways to be part of each other's lives, part of each other's story. And, there's the obvious stuff, but there are things that are not so obvious, that they really bind us to each other, to a common vision, to a common desire to see, lives that are prosperous, that are healthy, and that are productive and beautiful. And so I always take the opportunity to encourage listeners and viewers to figure out how we can support organizations like Phyllis Wheatley Community Center. And that can happen several ways. You can be a volunteer, right? Show up and help out. You can also contribute. The organization is always looking for resources. And you may think that your $10 or $15 or $25, $100 don't matter, but every dollar counts. And so just get in the habit of thinking, what, I ought to be doing something every year or once a month or every now and then. And, the denomination doesn't matter. It's the act of support that matters. So then the last thing is that be civically engaged. We're in a special time right now. So we have Comcast here showing up, doing the right thing. Who else do you know that you can say, you know what, I've been, or my family's been a customer of this company for years and years and years. Shouldn't this company be supporting something I support? I'm supporting them. They should support me. So think about all of your arenas of engagement, and be comfortable telling people that you do business with that you hope they will look at organizations like Phyllis Wheatley and be a financial or a resource support. Finally, the state is looking at an $18 billion budget surplus. Are we getting what we need for Phyllis Wheatley? And if we are not, we certainly should be. So use your leverage, your thought, your voice, your letters, your emails, and communicate to our electeds and influencers and say, you know what? We've had this massively successful activity at the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center, and we need to make sure that they are properly resourced to continue building on this legacy, 100 years of foundational service to our community. Well, so we're approaching the last minute. Stacy, thank you for being here. Take a minute, if you would, to invite people to the Wheatley on Wednesday. And you're a board member, right, of Wheatley?
I am not, but one of my colleagues is. So we definitely have Comcast involved in that way as well. But my colleague, Cliff Shaw, is actually the person who sits on the board. But Wednesday's event, there's more details on the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center's website. The event is actually at a Comcast building on Plymouth Avenue. And so all of those details are on the website. But please, if anyone's interested or knows anyone who'd be interested or would benefit, just a career exploration, understanding what it's like to work at Comcast, and then looking into some of the specific roles that are there and do have job openings right now. Wednesday, the 15th of March, from 10 until 2. So
thank you all. Kimberly, thank you so much. Thomas, thank you. Stacy, thank you. I'm Al McFarlane. This is The Conversation. We'll see you next time. Take care.